recording?
Yeah.
Okay, I will start the music first.
Yes, okay. Hi, this is let's discuss a paper right after reading it. And we read the conscious paper in less than 2 hours and discuss casually. First, we introduce ourselves. Please, Yota.
Hi, my name is Yota Kawashima. I'm doing a research assistant at ATL in Japan and Monash University.
Thank you, Yota. And me, I'm Ryoichi Watanabe at Kyoto University, Japan, and a PhD student. And normally, we have one person, Aniko, at Monash University, but she is now in vacation. So today, Yota and I discuss. And today's paper is the sensorimotor predictions shape reported conscious visual experience in a breaking continuous flash suppression task written by Lina Skora, Seth, and Lian Scott by Neuroscience of Consciousness in 2021. And in this study, the authors examine the affection of the sensorimotor prediction to the visual experience. And normally for consciousness, prediction error is important for visual or perceptual experience. And one of the prediction is a sensorimotor contingency, like if we are walking, the vision is moving. So it's like the sensorimotor contingency. And in this paper, the authors use this concept and examine the relationship between the sensorimotor contingency and the visual experience. And in this study, the authors set the new concept or new condition, sensorimotor predictions. It means in the design that normally sensorimotor contingencies are moving and action, then the outcome is changed. But in this study, so if like the like the operant conditioning, like if this visual stimulus is happen, then this one action is instructed. For example, if this image is presented, then the index finger press the button, and the other image is presented, the little finger is press the button. So the learning interaction, learning integration between the visual stimuli and the action. Then the authors hypothesize that if the sensorimotor prediction is correct or congruent, the visual experience is easily or early occurred. But if the sensorimotor prediction is incongruent or incorrectly, the visual experience is not easy to happen or take more time to occur the visual consciousness. Then the authors, according to this hypothesis, they conducted 2 experiments. And one experiment, second experiment is how to say, so revised by experiment 1. So normally the same condition. And for the experiment, there are two experiments in 2 tasks in one experiment. One task is that in the conditioning task, which in this task the participant learn the respondents or relation between the stimulus and action. For example, and the authors use the ambiguous image like the ink or like the, I think the Rorschach or something, the ambiguous ink image, and one ambiguous ink image is related to the index finger and push instructed. So if this image is appeared, the participant is asked to respond to the index finger push the button. And there is another image. It also the ambiguous image, ink image, and participants were instructed to, if this image is happened, you should push the button by middle finger and push. So after of this task, the how to say wrangle. So this image is related to index finger, and the other image is related to little finger is learned. And also there another image condition. Two condition. One is the not press the button. It's a not running condition. Also in this study, white dot from white dot to black dot means push the button. But if from the red dot to blue dot to red dot means that participants shouldn't push the button. So this is and the last one is yes. So 3 condition to in the first task. So in this task, participant learned the sensorimotor predictions. And the second task, where the authors use the breakthrough task, and they use the CFS task. In this task, dominant eye side. The Mondorian image, like the colorful images and appeared in the dominant eye field, and the other field is on same as the like the condition task, likely. So, and in this paradigm, participants cannot see consciously because the Mondorian image influenced our perception. So, in the breakthrough task, the participant cannot easily to see the image or task. And one side is the Mendelian pattern, and the other side is the same way the image, like ambiguous image happened. And participants were instructed if you if you see the image, and in the image the but like the vertical and horizontal and vertical line it happened with the image, and participant answer which line is appear. So vertical line, if the vertical line is happened, vertical line button push, and the horizontal line appear, horizontal line button push. But there are two conditions. One condition is the same way, so same as the learned representation. It means that in the first stage, the one ambiguous image related to the index finger, and the other image, another image is related to little finger. Then the in the breakthrough task, the participants were instructed in this so two blocks. In one block is participants were instructed push the button by index finger, and the other block participants were instructed to push the button by little finger. So if in the stage one task, condition task, like the image related to index finger, and the secondary breakthrough task also index finger and the same ambiguous image, the reaction time is earlier than the incongruent condition, which means that in the breakthrough the task, the image related to little finger with words appeared, but instructed the push by the index finger. It is an incongruent condition, and in this condition, the reaction time is more longer than the congruent condition. And also, the result shows that this hypothesis that the congruent condition reaction time is earlier than the incongruent condition time. So, as a conclusion, that the sensorimotor contingency, or in this study, for experimental design, the sensorimotor prediction affect the visual experience, especially participant can easily or earlier perceive consciously the visual stimuli or visual action when the sensorimotor prediction is congruent. Earlier or shorter time than the incongruent condition. Yeah, this is my summarize this study. So if you have any addition or comment, please, Yota.
I don't think I need to add anything, but just for clarification, the first task is for conditioning. So the participants were trained to link one stimuli and response. So stimulus A on index finger and stimulus B on little finger. And after the conditioning, participants did the continuous thrust suppression task, where the same stimulus from the conditioning task were presented, but this time the participant were asked to make a response with, let's say, an index finger. So if you or the participant were presented stimulus A, it is congruent because in the conditioning task, participant linked the index finger and stimulus A. On the other hand, when the stimulus B presented, this is called incongruent because in the conditioning task, the stimulus B is linked to little finger, not index finger. So the authors compare the response time or the time when they perceive the stimulus under the continuous thrust suppression and compare the time between the congruency and incongruent condition. And also they showed novel stimulus. I don't think you really mentioned, but surprisingly, the timing or the time to make the response is the shortest for the novel stimulus. And I think the author mentioned this in the discussion, but it's the surprising given the hypothesis, because the predictive coding is basically saying that you or the brain have a model, and then the error between the model and the actual sensory input is called a predictive error, is something to do with the perception or something. And if the prediction error is bigger than the time, the response time or the breakthrough time will be longer. But in the case of the novel stimulus, which is supposed to be the predictive error, will be the bigger, but the breakthrough time is the shortest. So that's surprising. But the authors mentioned that probably this is related to some attentional effect or the surprising or saliency or something like that. But yeah, I don't think they fully explain the mechanism why the novel stimulus gave the shortest breakthrough time. But yeah, that's just a little bit of add to your summary.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So, do you have any question, or we start the discussion? Okay.
Yeah, I think I understand the experiment and the author's hypothesis. And I didn't have time to go through the supplementary material, but they tried to test the predictive, or the sensorimotor prediction, not only for conscious stimulus, but also unconscious stimulus. And in the main text, they talk only about the conscious stimulus. And I think if I remember correctly, in the main text, they could not train the subject to link the unconscious stimulus and the response pattern. So, but yeah, I think that's all. There are no question about the experiment, and yeah. And we can just start discussion from now on.
Yeah. So I also wondering why the novel one is shortest, and this it means that the surprise was higher than the other condition, the normally, but yes, the image A and image B linked to the pushing the button is learned. So if the other condition time is longer, I understand. But how to? Sorry, I can't understand fully. But how to respond or how to calculate the novel one is I'm sorry, I wanted to mean that novel one is I don't think that the novel one is most highest surprising. Why this assumption happened?
I think when they use the word surprise, they mean that they did not show stimulus in the conditioning task. I think that in that sense, the novel stimulus should be the most, or give the most surprise than others, because it was not presented, the conditioning, and only in the continuous thrust suppression task.
I see. So, yeah. So, and congruent image and image A and image B each participant have as a memory or working memory. So this one is how to say competency, contradiction. So if one is easy, the another one is difficult. I understand. So this one is how to say battles, but the novel one is the other category or other one. So therefore, congruent and incongruent and battle, but the novel one is the other processing. So the novel one is easier than these are learned condition, right?
So first, what you're saying is that the comparison between congruent and incongruent is different from the comparison between the novel versus the non-novel, or I don't know how to say that, just the stimulus from the previous conditioning task. On that point, I understand, because if you think about the storing or the memory or data in the stage, and we have like this amount of this size of list, and in the first element we can store the congruent related stimulus, and in the second an incongruent stimulus, and the comparison between the congruent versus incongruent within this the area within this list. But we are talking, or if we are talking about the stimulus, a novel stimulus, which is outside of this list, that means that the comparison is a bit different from the congruence and incongruence.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And the second part, so I forgot what you said, but what was it? Yeah, while I was talking about or explaining the this analogy, I forgot what I was trying to say, but so can you say it again, or if you remember? The last word, the first, you said that the comparison is different, right? And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
second point was, what was that?
Yes, the same way. So I listen. Sorry, listen the other sorry. So my question is answered by you, or
Well,
I summarize what I said. One and
okay, but I wanted to add something on top of what you said. So, but anyhow, we can just continue discussion.
sorry, yeah.
If
I
we
also,
can,
yeah.
recall, we can just start that point. But
Yeah,
mention that. But surprise novel.
Yeah. So novel is. I don't think I can't understand the novel is most highest surprise. What I said.
Okay. Now I remember. So what I wanted to say, and it's not about the novel, but about the congruency one. So if we compare the congruency versus novel stimulus, then I expect that the breakthrough time for the congruency stimulus should be faster than the novel. That's what I wanted to say. And yeah, I think this is not to do with the novel, but the surprise. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say. And after talking this to you, I noticed that this is not to do with the novel. Why the novel is the most surprising, but yeah, my understanding is, as I said, that it has not been, or it had not been presented in the conditioning task, and in that sense, for participant, they have not encountered that stimulus before, so the most surprising one, I think. And not only the the surprise, but the authors mentioned about the attention or something, just in one or two sentences. But I don't think they fully clarify and explain the mechanism why the novels give the shortest breakthrough time.
So I also, this point is why this happened.
Yeah, the novel, the breakthrough time for the novel stimulus is roughly 250 milliseconds faster than the congruent one, I think. And for others, more than that, roughly like 300 milliseconds, or sometimes 500 milliseconds, something, which is, I think, huge. So it's but it's a bit difficult to interpret the result specifically about the novel stimulus. And also, I think this is not the question probably, but the comment is that they mentioned, the authors mentions that the prediction, sensorimotor prediction they talking about in this paper is not the same as the active inference in the sense that in the active inference, you make an action to cause some change in the world or trigger some stimulus or something like that. So action for something. But in this, experiment, the, all action is induced by the stimulus, and the action do not make any change. So I think that part we need to be, be careful about that part. And I think, the authors mentioned that part in the discussion. So, yeah. And another thing is that, yeah, I don't know, but again, from the discussion, the authors mentions that the effect of the time can be not on the the conscious perception, but on like response processes or other processes, and it's a bit difficult to disentangle like conscious perception processes from other processes. I agree with that, or I think we need some control so that we can say that, oh, this effect on time is not from the motor or other processes, but sorry on the sorry on the conscious processes or conscious access to consciousness or
yeah.
And yeah, the last thing is that on the breakthrough time, so they measure the time until participant perceives stimulus in the continuous first suppression. But the question is that did the conditioning change the way how they perceive? So making different, let's say we have or we present the same red in terms of the physical property. So 255.00 in terms of RGB value, the same red. But if it's congruent stimulus can be perceived in a different way from the red related to or linked to the congruency, incongruency. So they are not talking about what participant perceive, but rather only the processing time.
Yeah.
So that part, because when I check the title first time, it says that the the sensorimotor prediction shape reported conscious visual experience, right? Not the timing, not the time. So I expect that the prediction, having different prediction might lead to different experience or something.
Yeah.
But this paper only talk about the time or how long it takes to perceive one stimulus.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether that is possible or not. And I guess it's a bit difficult to measure that difference because the effect of prediction on the perception or the experience, the content itself is not that big and cannot be measurable or indistinguishable. But that's what kind of expected while reading this paper.
Yeah. Yes, or I totally agree with your comments, and so and how will it happen? The color different. So as you said that the congruent in the congruent condition, the red is more, how to say, more colorful or more, but the incongruent condition, the red is not colorful or like the darker than the congruent one, or so the content of consciousness will be changeable, right? What you said. Yes, it is. Yeah, it is interesting, but difficult. And I think the one more running stage, if we do the one, if we will add the one more learning condition or something, the image A under index finger and like the red color. So if the color or contents of consciousness is related, the perception will be changeable, right? So it is that the index finger related to red and little finger related to something blue or something, and the same this task, and the line in this task, the line is white or something. So what did you see? Sorry, which color did you see in line or something? And this is changeable or something. Is it clear?
Line, you mean the vertical and horizontal line?
Yes, vertical and horizontal line is in this task like the white line they used. So if the condition in the condition task, participant learn to learn to relate between the image A and the index finger and the red color, and image B is related to little finger and the blue color, and the participant did the same with same task, and yes, also they can answer the vertical or horizontal line is happened, and also if the learning between the, how to say, finger or image and color learning is correctly, so they can see the color on the line or something.
No, I don't think the color of line is not that important. I think it's just to confirm that the participant perceives the stimulus. So So what I wanted to say is that, let's say, like the color, the same red color, but perceived as a different way. Let's say, in the congruent case, can be more vivid, or possibly looks like a orange color. But in the incongruent case, can be much darker or blah, or can be looks as in purple or something. So I don't think that the color of line for confirmation is not that important. So I don't see why you are talking about the color of line.
Sorry, yes, I understand and I agree with your comment. And sorry, I added the other comment. Sorry, for if the if we want to examine the content of visual experience affected by this sensory prediction, and I think one way to examine it, we can use the color perception added, and so for sensorimotor contingency, so initially means that the action and perception change, right? And also active inference also. So if the index finger press the red color or red color something is happen, if the little finger, if the people push by the little finger, the blue color is happen. Then running is more time, and if in this condition, the participant push the index finger and then normally the red color is happen. So this learned, and the prediction is also index finger and red color. So if participant press the button by index finger, even if the color is not happen on the monitor, but the sensorimotor contingency is well, participant can or may see the color after pushing the button. And if in this task, the line is white or something, so if the three category learned, the image and the finger and the color is learned well, participant responds the button, and if the prediction is happen, even if there are no color information, but if participant were asked which color is happen, participant can answer after the pressing by index finger. Participant may or can see consciously red or something.
I see. So yeah, I thought that you're talking about the sensory motor prediction, but the active inference. Yeah. So the pressing button is linked to, let's say, red, and then by doing so, participant might, see the red and sounds like that. But is it possible?
Or I don't know. Yeah, but it is right. Literally possible. Well, I don't know, but if so, the content of experience is affected by sensory prediction or sensorimotor contingency by in the lab experiment.
Yeah, if someone show that kind of result, I will say that the predictive coding solved the consciousness, the problem of consciousness, something. But my guess is that we can't, even if the predictive coding somehow related to the consciousness, the effect is not that, I don't know, strong. By doing that kind of motion, like you perceive something, or I don't know, but well,
sorry, just my idea, or how to say,
so
imagination.
Yeah, but one possible idea is that not so I thought that maybe we can do some similarity analysis on this, not the response time. First, the conditioning. So the red with index and let's say blue with pinky little finger. And then after that, conditioning task, you can just do the similarity rating with, index, which is congruent for the red, but incongruent for the blue or something. And then we can see whether the similarity rating differ between congruency versus incongruency condition. And if the structure of similarity rating or the similarity matrix is different between congruency versus incongruency, then maybe we can say that, what they participant see is different or something. But again, we need to think about how to remove the response effect, not the perception, because the conditioning might affect, the way how you, make a report. So that's I think it's important thing. But anyway, I think we've already talked this or discussed this paper roughly 40 or 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And it's almost reaching 5. So we can just finish, and I'll play the closing, the sound here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. See you.